has not has had an argument. Oh, actually, I've no. Is he here? It's Oh yeah, he is. He's P4.
Hello, everyone.
Apparently...
And Shall I go? Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to PSGL here for season 29 here in F9 for round 6 of the season in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, one of the older circuits in Formula 1, former airfield. It's gone through many configurations through the years, but here on the most modern of the formats, as we see floor sticks start their lap. I am your commentator Jackson, and alongside me is Storm.
Yeah, good evening and welcome back to PSGL for round 6. 6 races, well, 5 completed on the 6th one already. Time flies when you're having fun, some might say. Just a quick weather update. We are expecting some wet weather. It looks to be a wet start on the wets, and then we'll be on to the intermediates and then a dry finish. So we haven't seen the drivers in the wets, well, not at all this season, I don't think. So it's going to be interesting to see the jumbled up grid. I think obviously the curse still goes on. No pole sitter has won the race, so maybe that may change with the wet conditions, but it's all to play for in Silverstone this evening. Yeah,
if that I feel like wet Silverstone is the last place that record's going to change, really, especially when it's a dry qualifying session. So with a dry qualifying session, that means that in the race, these guys will have completely different conditions, at least for the start of the race. So the guys that are perhaps better in the dry conditions, or perhaps better with sort of a slightly uncomfortable setup, because imagine these guys on wet setups, or maybe mixed setups, rather than the usual dry setup. So maybe a driver that's better in these sort of slightly uncomfortable car conditions, and sort of better in the dry compared to the wet, will get the pole position. Or maybe there's someone out there that goes with a dry setup, takes the risk at the race not being wet for long, goes with a dry setup, then having to just do a wet race on a dry setup. It's going to be tough there. So of all the places that the pole sitter is going to get their first, well, the pole sitter of that is their first win, it's not going to be Silverstone wet, I don't think. Although, given that we've gone through some tracks that you'd imagine the pole sitter would have an easy task, and they haven't, but maybe wet Silverstone, that drama will finally create a scenario where the pole sitter can actually win.
Yeah, obviously, Silverstone being such a tricky track, especially in the wet as well, obviously, with the type of corners that it has, like corpse. We saw Hamilton and Verstappen go at it. Unfortunately, Verstappen came off a lot worse. But yeah, I think also Maggots and Beckett's will be an interesting one in the wet weather as well. Turn 1 could be quite interesting as well. So there's definitely a lot of places where it can be won and lost. Obviously, being the wet conditions, there will be no DRS, so the driver's pace will be shown well and truly in this tier. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one, I think, and we'll see which drivers are on the dry setup and who are on the wet setup, because obviously they'll probably opt for the dry, the wet, should I say, apologies, because obviously the wet rain.
Currently top of the timesheets is Mentos, a previous pole sitter this season, I believe in France. Sadly crashed out of that race and had a tough one there. He's shown a lot of pace this season, really strong pace is Mentos, but it just not really be able to hook much of a string of, even a race together, let alone a string of races. So it's really, he's on the back foot at this stage of the season. I think at this stage he's just got to look at, instead of looking at championships and things like that, he's got to look at just getting himself embedded, getting himself comfortable into a position where he can win races and at least get podiums consistently, because then he can start to think about, well, if I'm not in the title fight this season due to my bad start, if I just build up momentum for next season, it'll be the same game, probably quite similar venues. It'll give these guys a chance to sort of prepare themselves and really build momentum, and perhaps, whilst other drivers this season who are fighting for the championship focus on that, perhaps a driver like Mentos can focus on himself, focus on his own results, and build up for next season, and perhaps bring a surprise, or at least be in the fight next season, because I think it's fair to say that the title favourites for this season have already sort of been selected by the time we've got to round 6. Of course, we could see a surprise here or there, but drivers like Bandini, who has, I believe, currently got a 14-point lead, they're one of the drivers that sort of is favourite for the championship. We've got others that have consistently been up there, like GTX, Common Rob, Dustley, another driver that's been fairly consistent this season. It's consistently this season has proved to be the key in the first few races of the season, first 5 races of the season, of course. A long way into it now, it doesn't feel like that, but as you said, Storm, time does fly when you're having fun. As it's currently an Aston Martin front row.
Yeah, I think with the 5 races that we've fantastically commentated over, out of my mind, just the Dutch Grand Prix was just, you know, the way Dustley came back through. I think also Bahrain was a very good one we had, the round 1 that we had. I think with Mentos, we know he's a good driver. He wouldn't be in this tier if not. He can do the the pole thing. He showed that in France. He's just got to get himself in that mindset of, I know I can get the fastest lap in this tier. I've proven it in France. So now I've just got to do the conversion of winning the race or getting into the top, 3. Because in Monza, he was doing so well, and then it just all went wrong for a lot of the drivers. I think in the wet we'll see who can really make the difference between Kyron Robb, Bandini and Dusty, as they are fighting for that championship. Obviously, as we saw Kyron Robb DNF last week, and I don't think Bandini and his teammate Ethan got on the podium, which is the first team to get. No, I believe that's the second team actually, because I think Alfa Romeo did it in France. Yeah, but being a wet Silverstone, there's a lot of contributing factors into it that anything can happen. And like I said in previous races, especially the Dutch Grand Prix that we did, it's gonna have to be right time, right place. If you're at the front, you're at the moment in this tier, you're in the worst spot possible. Because you're just, it's proven every race we've had, the pole sitter has not won the race. Yeah, the pole sitter has been potentially up there fighting for a podium or that race win, but as soon as something happens in that race, there's just that change where the pole sitter will fall back down the grid and not, capitalise on anything. It's like Belgium when Ethan spun it. He was on for that race win, and he just had that moment where he just literally spun it. So it's an interesting one, but I think we're in for a cracking race.
Yeah, currently with the Aston Martin still up front, some drivers out there going for their second attempts now. In terms of the championship fight, Bandini currently has a 14-point championship lead over Dudley, which is huge. It's nearly a race win. However, in the Constructors' Championship fight, Alfa Romeo and Mercedes are equal on points. Mercedes getting that 1-2 out in Monza, which is a track that Mercedes in real life go quite well at, not necessarily this year. But it was a great result there for the Mercedes team that put them back in the fight against Alfa Romeo. And whilst the Drivers' Championship looks like at the moment it's going the way of Bandini's, but of course currently 6th at the moment, so who knows what will happen. It's the Constructors at the moment is really bringing the drama, because GTX, Cohen Robb, Bandini, and I believe his teammate isn't here. Oh no, Ethan is at the bottom at the moment. Yes, at the lap time. They're two great lineups that both have the ability, as Cohen Robb, they've demonstrated perfectly by going second. Two lineups that have a lot of talent that neither side of the garage seems to be consistently getting it all together. Because even Bandini, he's not had it all going his way. He's got 3 race wins, but 2 non-point finishes. It's, as Mentos now goes to the top of the times, it's all about the teams keeping some momentum. As long as one driver's up there, they've got a good chance of staying in the Constructors' title fight. It's if they both retire from a race, that's when things can change drastically. Because if both cars retire, the other team are going to have 2 cars to score points with. That could be up to 28 points in a race, which is going to make a difference in the long term here.
Yeah, the Mercedes versus Alfa Romeo battle is an interesting one. I think obviously Monza last week didn't help Alfa Romeo as such, because obviously Mercedes did that masterclass in getting both on the podium, a race win and a podium. I think Kyron Robb will want to come back this week and prove the doubts wrong, that maybe Monza wasn't his track, wasn't his race. This is kind of technically his home race. I believe he's Welsh, so he's kind of near home. So it's an interesting one because you've got GTX, who has been phenomenal at the start of the season. The same with Kai and Rob. They both started off really well. Obviously, GTX winning the Bahrain Grand Prix. Then we had Kai and Rob in that fantastic French Grand Prix. And then we've had Bandini come out of absolutely nowhere. And he's gone on to, you know, match in the two Alfa Romeos. So it's kind of a battle between, I think, Bandini and Kai and Rob. And then it's going to have to rely on Ethan and GTX to pull the points for their respective teams of Alfa Romeo and Mercedes. I think also the disappointing team this season for me is Red Bull. Carlsbury has been up there but has fallen short because of incidents, unfortunately. AlphaTauri, you could say, has been up there. Flora Vistic was up there in the Dutch Grand Prix, as we saw. He had a spin, and his teammate, I don't think, has scored any points this season, which is Royal Harvey. But yeah, I think it's going to go down to the wire, I think, with Alfa Romeo and Mercedes. But also we've got Paudi. He's up P5 at the moment, so he may see this as his better qualifying sessions so far this season. Obviously, Alpine were quite good in Monza, I believe, as well. They got unlucky, but yeah, obviously it's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, Patuca now top of the times with a 1:26.7. Strong up there by the McLaren driver. It is also close up front at the moment. 6 drivers into the 26s at the moment. I believe GTX might be on a lap currently, so perhaps he'll be able to shoot his way into that. But I mean, 4 temps, maybe 5 temps covering the top 11 cars. It's craziness, really, to see so many cars so close. The one downside of this is that Silverstone is known for its DRS trains. We could quite easily see a train of cars around this circuit. I hope not as GTX enters the pits. I hope we don't see a train of cars in the race, but with the closeness of pace, it is quite possible. However, Silverstone is a track you can definitely overtake on. So as long as that second place car is able to and will challenge for that lead, then we have nothing to worry about. Because as soon as that first sort of car goes side by side with another car up towards the front of the field, that sort of backs everyone else up. And that's when we'll start to see some more overtaking and a bit more drama unfolding. But, you know, with the wet weather at the start, that could well mix up the field and spread them out before the DRS is enabled later on in the race, if it does dry out in time. So it is going to be interesting to see who will be the wet weather master at the start, because I wouldn't want to be one of the drivers going into turn 1 at Silverstone in what could potentially be heavy rain conditions. That's going to be scary. I would be surprised if they all get through there without incident, and it really would be just a showing of how talented these drivers are if they all manage to get through turns 1 and 2, and add 3 and 4 onto that as well, without any incidents at the start of this race. But we're still in qualifying now, and it is Patuca top of the timesheets with just under 3 minutes left in the session. Sorry for the yellow flags that keep popping up. Annoyingly, as commentators, when the yellow flags pop up, they take away the time left in the session, so it can get quite confusing for us, especially when there's yellow flags in every single sector, which obviously isn't very helpful to us. But currently, as I said, Patuca top of the timesheets, as CPI Daniel here about to start a lap for Alfa Romeo, Alpine. I'll get it right. There's too many A's on the grid these days. But Alpine there of Daniel going through the first couple of corners.
Yeah, I think if you look at McLaren this season, I think there've been ones that have gone under the radar, as my screen's now showing sector 1 yellow flags. With 2 minutes to go, I think Petuac has been that lead front runner for McLaren. Pied Piper, he had a good race in Zandvoort, but they just haven't got the results together. If they can start to put the results together starting tonight, I think McLaren may push one of the top 4 teams up there in the constructors, but they've got to get the results together. Petuaca needs to start getting himself on that podium, and he needs the Pied Piper to be, you know, right behind him and say, hey, we want to be in this title fight as well.
Yeah, we're now with just over 1 minute left, as is McLaren and Williams, another team that sort of got drivers good enough to be in the title fight, but not quite there at the moment. Drivers now beginning their flying laps. Pechuaka just yet to start his lap, going through Magnus and Beckett's now. We'll ride on board with his final lap of the session. He's currently top of the time sheet, so hopefully this will be the could well be the best lap of the session that we get to witness. Pechuaka has had some ups and downs on the season so far. He's not been a consistent front runner, but has shown on plenty of times that he's got some great pace. So we'll ride on board now with the McLaren driver as he makes his way through the Vale chicane now, out through the final corners here at Club, and beginning his flying lap here to end the session here in Silverstone. What can Pechuaka do? Through Abbey at Telmon, using as much of the curb as possible, making the run as short as possible, through Farm as well. Now heading into the village corner, turns in a little bit too early there, hits the inside curb, that may cause him a bit of understeer, going through the next couple of corners, just off his apex there, around the loop. Now through Aintree, another flat out corner, easily flat out, just want to use as much of the road as possible on the inside, just to give himself the shortest run to the straight. Now into Brooklands, getting the car turned in, getting nicely now very tight to the apex here. Got to prepare the exit. Good exit there from Luffield for Pechuaka. Through Woodcote, now an easy flat corner, past the National Pit Straight, now heading towards the famous Cops Corner. A lot of dramas happened there through the years. Nice and safe through there, not using quite all the road, but a decent amount there. Avoid the slow car on entry to Magnus and Beckett's now, using all the curb again, gets it turned in. Now through Beckett's, and now going into Chapel, using some grass there, using absolutely all of the road, is Pechuaka. On his way down at the Hangar Straight now, making his way into Stowe Corner, breaking late, blind corner, getting himself into the apex, using all the road and exit without invalidating. Nicely done there by the McLaren. Now braking hard for the Vale chicane. You want to touch the curb there, as that is Mentos with a fast lap of the session of a 1:26.5. Can Pechuaka beat that and go to the top? No, it's only a 1:26.682, which means as things stands, Mentos is on pole position. Colin Robb is about to finish his lap. What can he do? Coming across the line now and does not improve, or doesn't improve in position, only on time. Is there anyone else out there that might be able to challenge? GTX is slow. Carlsbury's in the pit lane. Royal Harvey also entering the pits, and Timer Azim in the pits as well. So that is IFRA Mentos into pole position here for the British Grand Prix here in F9 Season 29 Round 6. Can he convert this one? He got pole in France, wasn't able to convert it. He's got another chance here, has Mentos in the Ferrari. Can he take the win and end the pole position curse? You'll just have to wait and see here as we wait for the final couple of cars to end this session. Looks like we have a glitch with Timer Azim.
Yeah, fantastic pole position for IFRA Mentos. It might not be Max Verstappen, the Dutch driver, on pole, but it is our Dutch driver. That is Mentos on pole position for the British Grand Prix. So it's going to be an interesting one, I think. Obviously, Ferrari versus McLaren in that turn one, especially on the wet track as well. I wouldn't be surprised if anybody tries and risks the inters at the back of the grid. Obviously, if that rain does dry out quite quickly, it's an interesting one. Do you start on wets or do you start on inters? Because obviously we don't know how wet the track is going to be, because obviously these drivers will know it better than us as they're racing. If I was at the back of the grid, I think I would probably start on the wets just in case of a safety car, which I suspect we will get one this evening. But it's a tricky one, I think. Obviously there's no Haas this evening, I've just noticed. So obviously they've not had a great season. Obviously Jamie not doing that great in Monza. I don't think he finished in Monza either. But yeah, it's the Dutch driver of IFRA Mentos who is your pole sitter in not Monza, for the British Grand Prix in round 6 for PSGL F9 on the PS platform. he's going to have a tricky turn 1, I think, as that is qualifying now finished and completed by all the drivers, as Time Razim has left the session. I believe he's got a bit of a lag issue at the moment, so we'll just wait for the provisional results. So Mentos takes your pole position in the British Grand Prix for PSGL Season 29 in F9, with Time Razim up on that the front row with the Aston Martin. Then we've got Petruaka in third. Then we've got Kyron Robb, Powdy, Black Yoshi, Daniel, the Pied Piper, Ethan. Then rounding off the top 10 is Floravistic. Then outside the top 10 is Bandini, Dustley, GTX, Carlsbury, and we've got F1R Sand. Then we've got Real Harvey. It's quite interesting, Jackson. Bandini is not in the top 10. Neither is Dustley. That is quite interesting. Maybe they're running the wet setup. Obviously, Bandini may have not got to grips with it. But yeah, if you're the championship leader, you do not want to be, you know, the back end of the grid. He's going to have a lot of work to cut out, I think. Yeah,
I mean, both him and Dusty outside the top 10 does imply wet setups, as it is indeed raining quite heavily here. But I mean, I think everyone was probably on a wet setup there. And as I was saying, some drivers can just adapt to an uncomfortable setup, because I doubt any of them would have practiced racing in the dry on a wet setup. So I would imagine that some of the drivers not quite used to that sort of conditions. They're used to the wet setup in the wet and the dry setup in the dry. They won't really have a true feeling in the car. So perhaps, I mean, he's only 5/10ths off, and we're saying that he's underperformed. It's crazy, but that's sort of those small margins, just not quite being 100%, like only 99% comfortable in the car. And that's what happens, you don't quite get up there. But interesting to see Dusty down there as well, so it's a real opportunity here for Carmen Robb to snatch some points away from his championship rivals, and perhaps if those guys get caught up in any lap 1 shenanigans, then it could be a great opportunity for Carmen Robb to get himself back into the title fight good and proper, because at the moment he's sort of everyone other than Bandini's on the outside looking in. So we'll have to wait and see here as the drivers make their way around for the formation lap.
Yeah, so none of the drivers have gone for the wet compound tyre. They've all gone for the intermediate compound tyre, as the drivers will now take a formation lap, as Time Razim has jumped everybody and he wants to get his his formation lap out of the way. He is not in the session, I believe, as Mentos will take us a lap round the British track in Silverstone for round 6 in PSGL F9. This is the highest assist tier in PSGL on a Sunday evening. We have already seen the F10 and F11 tiers, which were on at 7 PM this evening, so if you do want to go and watch back some fantastic racing from our lower tiers, then you can. Also, PSGL is so close to that 10,000 subscriber mark. I don't know if it's been reached yet, obviously, but they are very close. They're under 100 subscribers, so if you do like any of the streams in any of the PSGL tiers on PC or PS, then do hit that like button and do subscribe for more of the content that PSGL will be providing for the remainder of season 29. Also next week, I believe, is the team event hosted by VRT, which will see some fantastic esports drivers and their esports teams with the likes of VRT, CRG, you know, so it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Obviously, we'll be back next week at 8 o'clock for F9. So as the drivers are now going to go through Maggots and Beckett's, coming to the end of that formation lap, we are on the intermediate tyres, and I'm going to hand you over to Jackson for race start.
Well, it's nearly that time at Silverstone. Mentos will lead the field now, heading towards the final few corners before the race start. Everyone on the intermediate tyres here. Let's see if these guys can survive the early stages. Drama is likely to come. The question is who for and when. But at the moment, final corner. Mentos just trying to get the temperature in the tyres and brakes, because, well, he's not going to have to use them until, well, probably not going to have to use them until turn 3. Especially as the leader, should get a nice clear run into turn 1, unless, of course, Time Razim can get a good start if he is indeed back. Some of the guys who are back going to be pretty, hopefully, cautious into turns 1 and 2 and avoid any potential incidents here. 16 cars lining up on the grid now. Royal Harvey into the final slot on the grid. They're all now in position. We wait for the lights to come on. The lights are coming on now. All the lights are on, revs are rising, and we are racing in Silverstone. Can Mentos get the start he needs? It looks like he has. He will lead going into turn 1 now. Behind him, all the field trying to cautiously make their way through the first couple of corners, but Mentos with a lovely jump on the field going into the farm and village corners. Now through the loop, Timer Azim losing out there. I don't know if that's an AI or a real car, who knows. But Pachuca now in second place. Cohen Rob up into third. Good start there for the Alfa Romeo driver. Is he going to be able to go? And all that's Royal Harvey off in the background. Is Cohen Rob going to have a go here down into Brooklands? No, he's going to stay back on this occasion. He's going to wait it out in these intermediate conditions, or is he looking for the outside line then? That's not going to happen on lap 1 of the race. Making their way now towards the Cops corner. Oh, that's a big moment there for Ethan. Second place in Monza. Currently 7th place on lap 1 of this one. Mentos, though, is continuing to pull a lead out front of the field here. Great start for Mentos ahead of Pachuca and Cohen Rob. Cohen Rob here on the back of Pachuca as they make their way through Magnet and Beckett's here. Some guys are going to be cautious, some guys aren't. That's just how the wet weather is. Can Cohen Rob make the move here as Timer Azim is in now? So I'm guessing he wasn't driving his car at start, hence why he's dropped quite a bit, although the AI hasn't done too badly, only in 6th at the moment. Mentos is out front, but he's not drastically pulling away. It's not night and day between the two top drivers at the moment. Pachuca still comfortably within a second of the race leader, but as they make their way through the Vale chicane now, it is Mentos in the lead of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I'm just on board with Bandini. He's battling, it seems to be, if I can just get a clear angle of who he's battling, as somebody has gone off the track and rejoined. It looks like Bandini was battling with Floravistic for that P9. So Bandini already shown his pace in the wet that he is. Yeah, he is battling Floravistic for P9, but he's obviously cleared the Alpha Tauri as he's going to clear Titan Razim because obviously he's in AI. But it's definitely an interesting one. Obviously Mentos getting himself up on that lead. Oh, sector 1 yellow flags. That is an Alpha Tauri, and he said Alfa Romeo. That is Royal Harvey. I believe that. Oh, virtual safety car. So, Bandini's got no wing. What has happened? He gets a 5-second penalty for a collision with an AI, I believe, because Timer Azim is not in the lobby, I believe.
It's a full safety car.
So the safety car is out as I predicted, not as early as I wanted or thought it would be. But Bandini hit with a 5-second penalty. He's now going to have to serve that in the pits because he's got no wing. That is not the way I think the championship leader wanted to start the British Grand Prix. Lap 2 of 24 laps left, and it's absolute mayhem already on lap 2. Mentos I don't think will go in. The safety car is on sector 1, so he's got a lot of a way to go before it gets picked up. But yeah, there is a McLaren which is the Pied Piper. He may take this as a reset button, so as he's all the way down in 16th, as Bandini is now in the pits, he's going to drop he's going to, I think, drop all the way down to last nearly, because he's got to get that wing changed.
Yeah, the championship leader there in a very difficult situation early in the race here. He's going to drop all the way to the back of the field, only ahead of Royal Harvey and F1R San. So it's a tough start there for Bandini. But I mean, for all the races to have that sort of event to happen, it's good for him in a way that it's happened in a race where he was battling it back into the points anyway. I know it was only lap 2, but I mean, it'd be much more damaging for his title fight if that had happened last race and he had lost the win. Instead of happening now, where if this hadn't happened, he'd probably only be P9, P8. It sounds weird to say, but it's almost lucky that it's happened here. Of course, it's more likely to happen when you're battling for those lower positions, because they are further down the order, as we've got some slight confusing things going on here. I believe Carbon Rob's just overtaken Pachuca under safety cars. We've got a few other penalties popping up here. Pachuca with a penalty. That's interesting. I'll have to do some investigation on that one. There's a few random penalties being thrown out here. Ethan and Porty also with penalties at the moment. I doubt they're all multiple warnings. I'm guessing a couple of them, I'd have to assume they're collisions under safety car, as we get to see that lovely Aston Martin safety car leading the field at the moment. Of course, new with the update to the game. Nice to mix things up from just having the Mercedes. But as things stand, it is Mentos in the lead of the race here. So they're preparing now for what could be a restart and probably a lap or two's time, as the cars that are pitted are still a long way back at the moment. I'm a bit confused by what's going on with Timer Azim at the moment, if I'm honest, because I think Timer Azim's back, but his timing's messed up, which is causing some issues, I believe, with other drivers, because he's there, he is legitimately in 8th position, he's not a lap down, but the game is scoring him as a lap down, so that's both Aston Martins are pulling into the pits here. What will this be for? Could it potentially be wet tyres for the Aston Martin teammates? As we get, I'm going to change to Porty there, because that's some interesting glitching going on here. Porty isn't overtaking under safety car, that's just the pit entry there at Silverstone. What tyres is he going on to? It's another set of intermediates. It's an odd choice this early on. No wing damage. Oh, he's serving his penalty, that'll be why he is pitted now. So perhaps not thinking that penalty was going to be removed, or maybe just does think that the Inters are going to be going longer into this race than perhaps initially anticipated. So perhaps going as another penalty there for Daniel, ignoring yellow flags. This is an odd one today. But
yeah.
Perhaps the rain is going to be staying a bit longer than these drivers expecting. Perhaps with the fresh intermediates, Porty can go to the end of the rain, whereas the others may have to pit. But it's only by a lap or two, so it's going to be some precision rain timing here for Porty. Storm, what do you think is going on with all these penalties?
As Harvey has just DNF'd on the track, so that's going to keep that safety car a little bit long. The yellow flag, ignoring yellow flag issue, there seems to be back of the grid. There's with Timer Azim's car, it's causing a F1 traffic jam, I think, which is then causing the 5-second penalty. So I suspect if they obviously they will serve them now, so they won't get them removed. But it is causing a little bit of an issue at the back. I think the timing leaderboard has fixed itself now, as it's showing Timer Azim 46 seconds behind. I don't know why he can't get back in his car. Obviously, he'll only be able to tell us that information. But that is Harvey out of the race. Another disappointing race for Harvey in F9. He's not had the best of season with AlphaTauri. Maybe it wasn't the car he wanted, or the car just doesn't feel like thing. As the safety car is going to come in this up, that nice green Aston Martin, and I'll hand you back over to Jackson for that safety car restart.
Mentos here now, heating up the tyres quite aggressively. Not got much time here. Quite an early pit entry at Silverstone, so that safety car will be in relatively quickly. It's a very fast safety car restart here for Mentos, going at 80 miles per hour. Gonna let the safety car come in now. He is in control of the field. Look at the field there bunching up. Oh, that's a broken wing there for Black Yoshi, who's had the pit. He's lost his entire wing on this restart. More drama as he now speeds into the pit lane. Mentos still not gone yet, or has he? It's hard to tell with these low grip conditions. He's still not gone. Now he floors it. It's hard to really get the power down on this safety car restart in these low grip conditions. Yellow flags all around the circuit, so that may stop overtaking for the next few laps as these drivers make their way around on this restart lap. Let's see if anyone tries anything on this lap, but Mentos at the moment up front as that's wheel to wheel there. Pachuca, all contact there perhaps from Daniel and Ethan. It looks like Ethan may have got into the back of Daniel going into the loop, and now there's a car from the background. That's San, and he's out of the race. It's an incident there for San. That is taking him out of the race. It looks like he's off there. It's an odd place to crash. But that is an odd one there for the Red Bull driver. Red Bull still not quite getting all of their stuff sorted out in this season. Bandini up into 10th place now as your championship leader. But up at the front, continues to lead, is Mentos. Got wheel to wheel through Woodcut Corner now on their way down the back straight. That has damaged the wing of CPI Daniel as they go into Cops Corner. Look at one wonderful camera angle there, as they're still wheel to wheel here in the battle for for 6th place. Now they're not. Daniel, with that wing damage, is really struggling. He probably will have to pit here immediately, because wing damage on this game is just awful, quite frankly. It is horrible to deal with, as it could be damage to Pachuca here, as he makes his way down towards Stowe Corner. He's under pressure from Ethan.
As I have to interrupt you, as Ethan goes, I believe, round the outside of Pechuaca for... no. Pechuaca is in the pit, so he's obviously going to serve a penalty. I don't know why it's still showing up all the sectors, yellow flags, as Mentos sets the fastest lap of the race.
Around goes Ethan on the main straight. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that is Ethan in the wall. Out of the final corner, he's battling with an AlphaTauri there, I believe, off floor of his stick. I don't know how that's happened there. They were wheel to wheel. I believe Ethan's overtaken the McLaren of Pachuca, and as a result has gotten a legal overtake because of these yellow flags, has then lifted off to give the place back, but then Pachuca's pitted, I'm guessing for wing damage. So Pachuca's pitted, meaning that Ethan slowed down for no reason. That's given Florvis Stick a chance at going for the overtake. He's gone for it, and then just coming through that, it's what normally is a flat out final corner. In these low grip conditions, it looks like Ethan's lost the rear end into the side of Florvis Stick, and then back into the wall on the left hand side of the Hamilton straight. That's not at all ideal for Ethan there, who is finding himself in a 10th position here that he would not want to be in after looking like he was in a very strong position early on in the race.
Yeah, I don't know if this yellow flag, all three sectors, is only for us, because the drivers seem to be quite racy. They want to overtake each other, so I think it might just be a spectate issue. So we're just going to have to, unfortunately, grin and bear with it. I think, obviously, we know what Codemasters, well, what they've given us.
Sorry, that's GTX though, who had a look up the inside of Dudley and got turned in on there. GTX nearly going around. I'm not sure. Oh, is GTX now going straight on? That could give Bandini a chance, and Bandini now going around the outside of the Vale chicane. Going to go around the outside of Club Corner now as well. Can he make this one stick? Mercedes went around here last lap in a similar position. Doesn't quite manage it here. Now going to have to defend from the Pied Piper. I believe these yellow flags could be legitimate here for the drivers, as that's now off the road. Goes GTX. He's going to be under all sorts of pressure here. Going in to Village Corner. Into turn 3 here. He's going to be overtaken now by the Pied Piper. Now let's see what happens now. Will the Pied Piper be given a penalty for an illegal overtake? That's the question, because if he is, then these yellow flags aren't just for us. If he isn't, then you're right, and it is just a spectator issue. Bandini with a 5-second time penalty ignoring yellow flags. He passed GTX as well there. Will there be a similar penalty for the Pied Piper? It doesn't seem that way at the moment. But certainly a penalty there for Bandini for ignoring yellow flags. So it seems that these yellow flags are at least half real, because it's a penalty there for Bandini, not for the Pied Piper, interestingly though. I've seen yellow flag glitches before, a worryingly high amount of times, especially when driving. But this is the strangest one, because it's penalising some and not others, which is slightly odd. And perhaps there is more reason behind that than just simple randomness, but who knows.
I think it may be Time Regime's AI car that's causing it, because look how far he is back.
But I don't think he's an AI. He's ahead of his teammate. Like he's racing quickly. It's the game has glitched his timing, which is causing him to ghost on other people's screens and appear as a lapped car for us. Which I've seen this glitch happen multiple times in the past. It's where a driver has sort of half disconnects. So whilst they're in the car and driving around, they're not actually there. They're 2 laps down as we see, and for other people's screens. But for everyone else, they're 2 laps down. It's really odd. So everyone else at the end of the race is going to see Time Regime number of laps down at the end of it, because the game thinks that his car is 2 laps down. But clearly, Time Regime is currently in control of this car, because the AI couldn't drive it that quickly, because he is keeping up with GTX at the moment, and is, I believe, currently in 9th position if you were to score him where he is, because I do not believe he is 2 laps down. And I don't believe that he's an AI car either, which is just, it's so annoying to see more and more races being ruined by these stupid glitches, because these yellow flags don't seem to be going anywhere. And until they do go somewhere, we're going to keep seeing penalties, we're going to keep seeing drivers not going for overtakes, and if they do, they will get a penalty. It's going to ruin the racing, and that was a penalty for Daniel for multiple warnings there. But we're going to keep seeing these issues, and we're not going to get what looks like a potential battle for the win here between Carmen Rob and Mentos. At this rate, it's impossible for Carmen Rob to win it, because if he overtakes, he'll get a penalty. And I just don't understand how they're supposed to race when this is happening. And I don't understand how we're supposed to commentate on this. It is basically a race long... This is like Spa. It's a race long safety car, effectively. Just we're going to have to watch 26 laps of it. So I really do pray that this glitch is ended soon. Any time I've seen it in the past, it will end after 2 or 3 laps. But we're on lap 8 now of this race, and across the line goes Mentos, and the yellow flags are still out here at the Silverstone circuit. I don't know what to say with this one.
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. I think that's why Karen Robbie's backing off, because he knows that yellow flag is there, because it can punish 20 seconds added on. I had it a few weeks ago. A driver didn't know until the end of his race that he had 20-second penalty, and he dropped from like P7 to P9. We know the game has bugs. We know that it has issues. Unfortunately, it does ruin the races, because we ain't going to see some fantastic overtaking in the wet rain in Silverstone, as Mentos and Karen Robb are coming through corps. This will be interesting to see if Karen Robb does go for the move. We'll know then if the yellow flags are just an issue for us or the drivers. Yeah, like you said, it's an unfortunate one. Obviously, we were expecting one race to have an issue, but if it is this one, then it is unfortunate. But Mentos is using that ERS. He knows Karen Robb is behind, as Karen Robb is really on the back of him now. So them intermediates maybe coming to the end of that first stint will just come through to, I believe, which is Val. They aren't going to pit, so they feel the inters are still okay at the moment, as Mentos is now going to use that ERS, as Bandini gets another 5-second penalty. So I'm starting to wonder if these yellow flags are legitimate, because Bandini just got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. So
the thing is, at this rate, everyone's going to end up with a penalty. But the problem is, if this was happening with 5 laps left, then we could say, okay, anyone that got a penalty, we can remove it. Fair's like everyone. It's obviously not fair for you guys to have these legitimate penalties, because they're not legitimate. The issue is, it's lap 10 of the race. All these guys have to make a pit stop, which means, I mean, Bandini's probably doing it the best way possible. He's got 1 penalty, clearly not necessarily knowing what's happening, and because he knows that you can only serve 5 seconds in the pit stop, but he plans on making 1 stop in this race. That means that he'll only have to serve that 1 5-second, which a lot of people are going to have to do. And the rest of those penalties that he has, those 3 or 4 other penalties he's got, he can get those removed at the end of the race without an issue. But the thing is, for drivers like Karen Robb, yet to have a penalty, at this rate he can sort of abuse the system and avoid getting a penalty, not have to have those 5 seconds in his pit stop, and then he'll get a bit of time. I don't know what the solution here is to this issue. We had a major update just a few days ago, and you'd think this would be something that they'd have top of their list, but clearly not. And if anything, this glitch has just got worse, because I've never seen it last so long, and at this rate it is going to last for the rest of the race, which is something personally I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Safety car.
This may fix it.
Fingers crossed.
Hope.
Has the leader passed the safety car? No. Sorry to drop there, but the leader has caught the safety car, which means anyone at the back of the field can pit for a fresh set of inters, and the leaders will still have to pit, which means anyone at the back of the field can now get a free pit stop and jump the leaders, which means Florvis Stick is probably going to end up leading this race, because surely this is the pit window time. If they've taken these tyres 11 laps, they could probably stretch them to 15, especially if a safety car helps them out. So this now puts drivers that have now pitted under this safety car or earlier in a very strong position. So Florvis Stick, GTX, not Black Yosh, he has not pitted, or has he? My mistake, he has. He's in the pits now. It's giving all these drivers that have now pitted a jump on the leading group, and all those that couldn't pit, purely because of the timing of the safety car there. Usually you'll see a safety car come out when the lead. It's strange that the only time this can happen is when the safety car comes out when the leaders are between the pit entry and about a corner away from the pit exit. or a few seconds away from the pit exit, because the safety car's jumped them out, but it's come out after they could enter the pits, which now stuck them here, essentially in a situation where it's almost like the pit road was closed there for a second. It has that similar effect of back when that rule was in place, of where anyone that pit before the safety car comes out now gets to jump over all those that pitted, or will have to pit under it. Or, I mean, maybe Mentos and Carmen Rob will try something different and stay out a little bit longer and just try and build up a lead again. But at this rate, this has really changed the effect of this race, and could well see a race which had no overtakes will somehow see the pole sitter not win, which would be the sentence of the season, as into the pits and no one at the front, but loads of people further back. The only thing I can think of here is that these guys up front, if the rain is going to end soon, is that these guys see that rain is coming soon. There's been a crash into the pit lane. What else? Is anything that hasn't happened in this race, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless the rain is ending soon, the top two guys could well be in trouble here.
Yeah, obviously I've made it aware to our fantastic staff members. As Powdy's been given a 5-second penalty for gaining an advantage of 1 place. Hopefully the safety car yellow flag will fix whatever. Mentos is having a bit of a battle with the safety car, as he nearly went into the side of the safety car. I think his Inters are coming to the end of their life. Yeah, as you mentioned, the safety car, as it came out, that's an absolute massive issue, because that nearly crashed into Mentos, and we nearly didn't even have then a race leader. It would have been gifted to Kai and Rob. But yeah, obviously I'm sure the PSGL staff are watching, so they'll be noting everything, so we'll just leave it with them, and we'll just try and focus on what sort of kind of racing we can get this evening. Hopefully the safety car will fix the yellow flags that are over the track. Obviously we've got a no overtaking. We haven't had any overtaking for the last 4 laps, because we've had yellow flags all around the track. So obviously this looks to be a glitch, unfortunately, as Mentos is your race leader with Kai and Rob in P2. Then rounding off the top 3 is Carlsbury. In 4th we've got Bandini. 5th we've got Florovistic. In 6th is the McLaren driver of Petraka. Then in 7th we've got Powdy. Then in 8th we've got the Pied Piper. Then we've got GTX in 9th. Then we've got Black Yoshi in 10th. Then we've got outside the top 10 we've got Dustley. Then we've got Ethan. Then we've got Daniel. And then I believe Time Razim is in there somewhere. I'm not quite sure what position he is, because the game leaderboard has glitched. Then your DNFs for this evening are Royal Harvey, the AlphaTauri driver, then one of the Red Bull drivers, which is F1R San. They aren't going to abort the race at the moment. We haven't had any confirmation from senior members of staff at PSGL. We will continue the race. We will continue commentating on the PSGL British Grand Prix for season 29 on the PS platform. We are on lap 13 under the safety car.
Sorry, Pachuca's just spun on the safety car here and broken his wing. The McLaren driver there having a bit of a moment and has done a George Russell. That's really gone badly wrong for him, as he appears to be I'm going to guess retiring the car, or just destroying a brake board for the fun of it. He's clearly not happy at the moment, as I doubt any of the drivers are at the moment in this situation. I ask those of you that are watching, let's all just hope and stay here together, and just really pray that this glitch does fix itself on the restart. This safety car, whilst it's neutralised the race, if it ever wasn't neutralised, and let's just hope this is an opportunity now for the game to fix itself by withdrawing the yellow flags on the restart. This is the chance we needed, and we got this chance with the safety car. Let's just hope so much that this fixes the restart. So those of you that are watching, please do stay around now to see at least the restart. I fully understand if you guys that are watching see the restart, and even laps after the restart it's still all yellows. Honestly, I don't blame you if you go and enjoy the rest of your day, what is left of it, because This is a Codemasters glitch. Nothing the league, nothing the drivers, nothing the admins, nothing anyone can do here. In this situation, the only situation is to abort the race, but it's hardly fair to those drivers here that have put in the time and effort to getting ready here, as the safety car is going to be coming in this lap. Let's just hope that this fixes it when the safety car does come into the pits, as Mentos will lead them away.
Yeah, it kind of, at the moment, Mentos is in that kind of Max Verstappen Belgium, which we saw a couple of weeks ago, where there's no overtaking and anything, as the safety car is now in, so hopefully these yellow flags will disappear. Oh,
couple cars pitting.
GTX is in the pit, so we'll think, as we're now going to get back under racing on lap 14 of 26. Let's just see if yellow flags do get cleared. It looks like they have been cleared, and we are now back under racing. We have been given green flags all across the track, so we are going to get under racing.
I mean, hallelujah. This is absolutely amazing to see that the track is finally not yellow. Just looking in that bottom right hand corner of the screen and seeing the track isn't completely painted yellow. Brilliant there. And we are back under racing here. Cohen Rob here is going to perhaps go for the lead of this race on the back of Mentos, going into Brooklands now, making their way through this tight and twisty section. Mentos slightly wide there. We saw before the safety car that Cohen Rob did look the quicker of the two drivers, and was all over the back of Mentos. So as this rain does appear to be dying down ever so slightly, as they've driven off the road down the straight, and Mentos has got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, because he's clearly not concentrating there. He's just drifted off down the straight. Woodcut is, even in these conditions, is an easily flat out corner there, and he's picked up a warning going wide down the straight. I don't know what the stewards think. I don't know whether that's potentially something he could get removed, that warning. I don't know how that would work. Because you could argue that we've gone off the track, that's a legitimate warning, but at the same time, it is the definition of a warning that didn't gain him anything. It happened down a straight. And the track's wet, but I doubt it's much drier off the racetrack at the moment. But Cohen Rob, currently in the second position, no DRS because of the rain. Let's see if he can do much here to the leader of IFRA, Mentos. These guys so close on the racetrack. Storm, who do you think is coming out on top here?
Now we are back under racing. I wouldn't be surprised if Cohen Rob gets the move done, but then you've got Carlsbury, then you've got Bandini. Bandini wants to get that car on the podium because his teammate is P8, so they want as massive points total as possible. Mentos is just literally defending for, I think, his life, as they're going to come, well, in a minute they will be, into Corpse, as Cohen Rob is closing that gap. Carlsbury, I think, is just going to sit there, as they are now going to come through Corpse, and it looks like Cohen Rob is right on the back. Oh, as Mentos has a little bit of understeer, as Cohen Rob gets right on the back of that diffuser, but it's not going to get moved done as they now come through Maggots and Beckett's. I don't think it would be a very good idea to go for the overtake through here as they come out of Maggots and Beckett's nice and cleanly, as they are on the intermediate tyres, lap 15 of 26, as they now come through what would be the DRS straight. No DRS is available because of the wet weather conditions, but they have got the ERS available, as Cohen Rob has got 71%, it looks to be, of ERS, but he can't get the move done as he has to close up that gap again to Mentos, roughly around about 3/10. And it looks like as they come through to the Vale chicane, Cohen Rob seems to be getting Mentos down into Corpse, but just cannot hook up the rest of the lap, as Carlsbury is on the back of Cohen Rob, but you've also got Bandini, who is on the back of Carlsbury, as Ethan in the other Mercedes sets the fastest lap with a 1:37.1, as you're on lap 16 of 26, 10 laps to go. Will we see the dry tyres, or will we see another set of intermediates?
Well, the rain is still falling here at the Silverstone circuit, not an uncommon sight to see. But it doesn't appear to be getting, it's lighter than it started. It looked much heavier early in the race. Perhaps it is starting to die down a bit as the track, though, still looks very wet here. So even if this rain does stop, it'll take a few laps for the place to dry out. Cohen Rob here coming through Luffield, the corner where he has had much more traction out of than Mentos, as they now make their way through Woodcut. And Mentos is a couple of laps there. He had an issue through Woodcote, which is an easy flat-out corner, which is odd to see. As they make their way through Copse now. Can Kyle Rob get the run? He's a bit further back now, so perhaps these slightly drier conditions suiting Mentos' car better. Perhaps Mentos is running a dry setup here, hence why he got pole position and is starting to improve as the track dries. Because this track is certainly drier than when we started now, as I believe we could well see a fast lap of the race on this tour of the circuit. Mentos dropping Kyle Rob out front at the moment, not at a rate of knots at the moment, but certainly putting a gap between himself and Kyle Rob, getting a bit of a buffer there, so that he'll be nice and safe when they do eventually get to wherever he brings in. As Ty Marazine has now left the session, the driver who's had an interesting day, I think, to say the least. But now, Kyle Rob, I mean, he's nearly it's getting to the stage now where it's almost getting to the stage where he's close to Carlsbury behind than he is to Mentos, sorry, as Ty Marazine has just left the session and has got a drive-through penalty since then. I think that sums up the day. But now out front, this top group of cars, all nose to tail, Florvistic on the fresh intermediate tyres. You'd think he'd be cutting his way up to the lead group here, but he's actually sort of holding up Black Yoshi as they make their way down into Brooklands. It's an odd one there for Florvistic, because you'd expect those fresh intermediates here to be in a much better situation than he currently is, but just doesn't seem like he's comfortable in these current conditions on the circuit. But Black Yoshi now is going to go for a move to Woodcote. That would be a brave one. Florvistic very kindly leaves the space there. I don't think anyone would have complained if he hadn't. And now going into Copse Corner, of course, not going to go side by side through there. We've seen what happens in the dry. But now Ron coming out of there, they're going to go wheel to wheel into Maggots and Beckett's, are they? No. Black Yoshi again sensibly backing out of that one. Really hitting that curb hard on entry. Doesn't look like it's affected him too much. It looks like a matter of time now until the Williams driver gets past the... Oh no, is that around? No, he's held onto it there. Just it looked like he's about to throw that one away. He's going to lose the position to his teammate Dustley though. Dustley in the title fight is going to have to make his way back up the order. Big mistake there from Black Yoshi, which is... That was cost him a potential overtake there, because he looks all but done on that overtake, because he'd really been building that one for the last lap and a half almost. But Black Yoshi there making a mistake as his teammate all over the road there coming out of the Vale chicane. Not going to go wheel to wheel into turn one, surely not. No, they're not. As backing out there is Black Yoshi up at the front though. Mentos is continuing to pull his lead at the front of the field, but it's all sort of status quo in the top few positions.
Yeah, I'm just looking at penalties. Mentos has 8 seconds, obviously 5. Oh, Carlsbury gets a 3-second time penalty. That's his first one of the session. Going back to the penalties, Bandini has a 10-second penalty. If he gets on the podium, that's instantly his podium gone, because of that 10-second, because he's pitted twice. Obviously, we've got Powdy's on 10 seconds, then you've got Petrak on 9. Time Razim obviously has served that drive through, so he's got 5 seconds. Penalties, I think, will be removed. I think the Bandini ones will be removed because that's a glitch. A few questions in the stream chat for if the drivers use wheel or controller. I think it's a mixture. Obviously, we don't know what the drivers use. Obviously, I know a few of them use the wheel, some of them use the pad, so it's up to the drivers obviously what they use, but this is the highest assist tier available in PSGL for season 29. Obviously there is our lower tiers which goes from F10 to F13, which are on during the week, and you saw earlier this evening at 7 PM you saw F10 and an F11 which race also at the British track in Silverstone, which what I've heard from one of our other commentators... Oh,
Mentos around! Race leader Mentos has gone around. Colin Roberts going to take the lead of the race through turns 1 and 2 there. IFRA Mentos has had a massive moment and he kept it in a straight line, but it's cost him 3 positions. IFRA Mentos has dropped down into 4th place here. The race leader, the pole sitter, is now in 4th position here in Silverstone. Huge moment of the race there. IFRA Mentos is going to be... well, quite furious with himself there after that moment. Unforced error, he was pulling away out front, and he'll be kicking himself after that one.
Yeah, wow. I think Mentos had a moment. I think 18 lap mediums, inters, Yeah, I think that's I'm gonna call that one the Mentos moment. Yeah, I think he knows his tyres are completely gone, but he's just waiting to see if there is going to be time for any dry patch on the track. Funny enough, Mentos asked me earlier today my predictions for F9. I was going to say a race win for him, but after seeing that, I think it's just going to be highly unlikely. He's got 8 seconds of penalties. Karen Robb can now control the pace. Obviously, he has got to make a pit stop. He has got Carlsbury and Bandini behind him, but both on penalties. Obviously, Carlsbury only 3 seconds, but Bandini has that 10-second penalty weighing over. He has made a he's made 2 pit stops. So it's going to be an interesting one, but I don't see... the only way I see Mentos getting on that podium now is if he does a miracle recovery drive like Dusty did in Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago, because the track seems to be drying out in some places. There is a little bit of rain still coming down. It's not for that tyre change yet, but I think the drivers that haven't pitted are just holding out. There's 6 laps to go. If they don't pit soon, then the game will just automatically... Oh, DRS has been enabled, so the track is now going to get drier, and them intermediate drivers, well, with the intermediate tyres on, are they going to pit because they know the track is now going to get drier, because DRS has been enabled by the race control as Bandini gets another penalty, and that's now up to 13 seconds. It's not going well for the Mercedes driver and our championship leader in the F9 tier for the PS platform in PSGL for season 29.
Well, that's throwing a spanner in the works, these top guys. The question is, with 6 laps to go at the end of this one, is it worth pitting for the dry tyres? Because that's Ethan that's gone off, and they are pitting. Perhaps anticipating a safety car, and Dustley, championship contender Dustley, his safety car has been deployed. Everyone now pitting for the dry tyres. I was about to say the drivers, if it didn't get dry enough, Carbon Rob and Carlsbury and guys like that, they wouldn't have to pit. In intermediate conditions, they would not have to pit, because if you use a wet tyre, the regular tyre rules are thrown out the window. Has anyone accidentally selected Inters here? That's the question. Race leader going into soft compound tyres, but is he going to hold the lead? Yes, he is. That Black Yoshi with his later pit box, putting on some soft compound tyres. Is that Floor Vistic going to set another set of Inters? He's changing his wing. He's gone... That's a mistake there by the AlphaTauri driver, putting on a second set of intermediate... could well be more than second. It's his third set of intermediate tyres, actually. He may have to pit again there, unless this track... Maybe he's taking a risk. Maybe he's hoping that it doesn't dry up enough. But that is... my whole point, I've lost what I was going to say. I was going to say, well, you know, Carbon Rob doesn't have to pit if it doesn't dry up in time, and could well just cruise out front, but forget that. He's pitted for the soft compound tyres as the track is dry, safety car out. The question now is, what the hell happened to Dustley and Ethan? That was an odd one. 2 drivers this season who have proven to be very good drivers. Dustley second in the championship, Ethan getting second place last time out in Monza. 2 top drivers in the league having it coming together going to Stowe Corner. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen drivers tangle in to Stowe Corner, but it's still an odd one, especially as the track conditions changing as they were. You'd think drivers perhaps thinking more about their strategy than making moves there and then.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'll put my money on this. Piper has gone on to soft compound tyres. He's now got 1 penalty, and he's got everybody in front of him on a penalty of at least 3 seconds, because Mentos has got 8, Bandini's got 13, and the others have got at least 3 or 5 second penalties. The only one that hasn't got a penalty is Karen Robb. So, well, Daniel's got 6, Black Yoshi's got 8. So all the Piper needs to do is either overtake or just keep within this pack, and he's got himself P2, P3 net. He's literally going to get McLaren onto that front podium if things go his way on that safety car restart, because Bandini's going to drop. Obviously, I don't know if his penalties will be removed at the end of the race. Obviously, that's up to the stewards in PSGL, obviously. There seems to be a little bit of an overtaking. What's going on at the back?
I believe that's force Vistic pitting.
Yeah.
The usual odds Silverstone pit lane design.
Oh, Dustley, our host, has left the lobby.
That's because he's out of the race. I don't blame him there. Let's just hope the new host has good connection. Because the last thing we need is a safety car restart where there isn't a restart. So please, Codemasters, bless this race restart. We've had one safety car restart that stayed yellow, one that went green. Oh, I hope this one works. I hope so much this one works because we could have one hell of a finish if it does.
Like
I know there's the penalties, but who knows?
Yeah, as I was saying, it's like Bahrain when we had our first race, that 2-lap sprint where it was like the gloves are off, we're going for it. And funny enough, an Alfa Romeo won that race. It was our French driver, which is GTX. So 4 laps to go in dry conditions in Silverstone, down Corps through through Maggots and Beckett's, DRS after that. I won't want to be in these drivers' positions, especially Karen Robb. He's going to have to defend from Carlsbury. We know Carlsbury's got the pace. He showed it in Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago. He showed it last week in Monza. Carlsbury nearly decided to overtake Karen Robb under the safety car. That would not be a good idea. As we're on lap 22, I believe the safety car will come in this lap or the next lap. It won't go any further than that, as obviously it has to give us a green flag for racing. So we're just going to wait for the drivers to come up to the end of Maggots and Beckett's to see if that safety car does come in. That new updated version of the Aston Martin. It's not Time Regime or Paudi at the front, don't be mistaken. It is the Aston Martin safety car. There is a lot of thing going into the chat. A bit of support for the McLaren drivers, which is the Pied Piper and Petrarca. They are currently P7 and P9. The Pied Piper is currently in a net P2. He would be, I believe, McLaren's second podium, I believe, this season, as Petrarca, I believe, got one in Bahrain, I believe. He may have not. I know he was up there. As we're still under the safety car, so I believe the safety car will be in this lap, and we're going to have 3 laps of racing in the PSGL F9 tier. It's almost like a sprint race to the finish, as the drivers are now all on the soft compound tyre, which is part of Pirelli's dry compound tyre, which is the C2, the C3 and the C4. Everyone is on the soft compound tyre except from Time Regime, who has, well, his AI should I say, has opted for the medium compound tyre. I'll run you through our current race lead at the moment, which is Karen Robb on that race lead at the moment, with Carlsbury in P2, then we have Black Yoshi in P3, then we've got CPI Daniel in 4th, then we've got Bandini in 5th, then we've got Mentos, our pole sitter, in 6th, then we've got the Pied Piper without no penalties, currently in a net P2 in 7th, then we've got Paudi in P8, then we've got Petrarca in P9, then rounding off the top 10 in P10 is Florovistic, then outside the top 10 is GTX in 11th, but he is right on the back of that AlphaTauri. Then we've got, well, he should be in P12, which is Time Regime. Then your DNFs for today are Dustley, MMT Eaton, F1R Sand, then Royal Harvey. Unfortunately DNF'd earlier on in the race, and we are hopefully going to get back under racing very soon, as I'll hand you over to Jackson for which should be the race restart.
Yeah, Karen Robb here. All of the field backed up behind him. Well, technically at the moment backed up behind the safety car, but in hopefully a few moments time we'll see the lights turn off on the back of the safety car, and Karen Robb will take the lead of the field, really revving that engine out, trying to burn some fuel in that car. And the safety car is indeed in this lap. The lights are out on the safety car. It is the time for what should be the final restart of the day, as Bandini gets another penalty to add on to his collection. All of these drivers on soft compound tyres. Here's the penalty list for those that are wondering. Out front it is still, as Bandini's now Bandini's now crashed. Championship leader Bandini is out of this race here. Karen Robb is now finding himself in a very favourable position. We've just 3 laps left in Silverstone. When will Karen Robb go, and will he be able to take the lead of the championship? He's still not gone yet. He goes now. Karen Robb leaves the field behind, going across the start-finish line here in Silverstone. There's battling further down the order into Abbey and into Farm. Karen Robb leads the field on this final restart of the day into Village Corner. Let's see, can Carlsbury spring surprise here? So that's Florvistic that I believe's had some sort of issue at the back of the field. Carlsbury behind Karen Robb at this stage of the race. Can he do anything about it? As it's battling further down the order, this is Porty and Mentos, the pole sitter. Mentos now battling out for 5th place. Once again, the pole sitter curse strikes again. Can Mentos make the move? No, he can't. There's battling between the two McLarens behind. The Pied Piper and Pachuca here, both battling away for 7th position. Of course, penalties will have an effect on this race order, but I'll be honest with you, I don't have a clue which are legitimate and which aren't, so who knows what the final race results could be here. Let's just enjoy the racing we get on the way there. GTX now around the outside and making the move into Cop's Corner there, keeping all 4 wheels on the racetrack, well, 2 of them anyway. Now into Maggots and Beckett. On the back of the race leader, that is Carlsbury, all over the back of Karen Robb. Their great run of corners. Perhaps a mistake there from Karen Robb. Carlsbury here with 1 3-second time penalty. Who knows whether it is a legitimate one or not, but at the moment he's got a run on our race leader with just 3 laps left in this one. 2 laps remaining at the end of this one. Who can come out on top here in Silverstone?
Yeah, as now they are now going to come to lap 25 of 26 in PSGL for the F9 tier, as Karen Robb sets the fastest lap with a 1:28.7 in the Alfa Romeo, but he's got Carlsbury right on the back. Karen Robb has no penalties this current race, so he is currently going to take the race lead at the moment, or as Carlsbury takes one of the sausage curbs with him, as they now will have DRS, as they will now come up to the end of the, well, no, they're now going to hit the DRS. I believe Carlsbury is not going to use DRS. He doesn't even have it activated
for another lap.
Oh, it's not enabled, is it? Because of the safety car. So this is going to help Karen Robb as they now come through Woodcut into Corps. It is going to be Alfa Romeo versus Red Bull. We know what happens when a Red Bull goes into Corps, but it looks like Carlsbury is a little bit off the back of that diffuser of the Alfa Romeo as they now go through Corps into Maggots and Beckett's, as they are going to use ERS as they come out of Maggots and Beckett's. That Red Bull is going to apply that pressure again. He's got around about 56% of the ERS as they now come out of Maggots and Beckett's. He's really not putting the pressure on Karen Robb as they are now going to come down into what will be the Val chicane, ready for the last lap of the race. It's going to have to be now or never for Carlsbury if he wants to get that move done, as Petraka gets himself back up to P7, as CPI Daniel drops down to P8, as Karen Robb sets an even quicker lap in the race for a 1:28, as DRS is now enabled. So this is going to be a last lap now or never for Carlsbury, as they are now going to come through into the DRS. As Carlsbury has got DRS, he's going to activate it. Is he going to get the move done? As there's a sector 1 yellow flag, that is, I believe, Ensign at the back of the grid. But we are going to keep on board with this race lead battle. It is going to be Carlsbury versus Karen Robb, as they are now going to go through Woodcut into Corps, as they're now going to come through there now. It looks like Carlsbury has backed off a little bit, but he is going to go through Corps with Karen Robb as they go through now, as they head up to Maggots and Beckett's. As they are now going through Maggots and Beckett's, Carlsbury will get DRS again, but he really needs to put the pressure on. He's got a little bit of ERS as they now come through the DRS zone. But look at the pull that Red Bull has, as Carlsbury goes down the inside and he gets the move done on Karen Robb. But this is only going to be on for on-track race win, as Carlsbury has a penalty. As Carlsbury now comes through the Vel chicane, he is going to take your provisional race win this evening in PSGL F90. He's going to take it on track as he gets the fastest lap of the race. But Karen Robb is your race winner this evening in round 6 of the PSGL F9 tier for the PS platform, as Mentos gets himself up on the podium as well. Fantastic recovery drive for him. So it's Karen Robb taking the race win with Carlsbury in P2, and Mentos, our pole sitter, gets himself on the podium with GTX in 4th, and then Black Yoshi in P5, then Pauli in P6, CPI Daniel in P7, then we've got the two McLarens in P8 and P9, which is Petraka and the Pied Piper, and then rounding off the top 10, which is NLR Florovic. Then outside the points, the only outside points finisher for today is time resumed. Then our DNF finishers are Bandini, Dustley, Ethan, F1R, San Ambrose, Harvey. So that's both Mercedes out of the race, which is gonna help Alfa Romeo massively.
That time points will not be a tie anymore, put it that way. But I believe your new championship leader is Carmen Robb. Not by much, but the championship fight is back on here as Carlsberg gets driver of the day. It is another, I mean, admittedly with that spell in the middle of the race where we didn't really have a clue what was happening, but I mean, once that glitch ended, once that safety car came out and then went back in, I mean, it was anyone's race. It looked like at one point Mentos had it, and then it went to Carmen Robb, and then Carlsberg battling for the lead as well. I mean, who knows what could and would have happened without that glitch mid-race, because who knows would have been where, who knows what penalties would have been given, which ones wouldn't have been. It really was a crazy part of the race, and a fascinating race to watch. Some parts more fascinating than others, but the winner at the end of the day is Carmen Robb, who takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship and will take the fight to Bandini. Bandini continues his record this season of either winning the race or not scoring points, which, I mean, that and the pole sitter never winning a race this season, they're two records that are nice to, sort of an interesting one to hear. Not so much of the person who's holding those records, put it that way. But, I mean, Storm, what do you think of that race?
Wow. It's an interesting one, I think. Obviously, the glitch of the yellow flags didn't help. I think it showed the other side of the drivers, you know, on the wet track, which we haven't seen so far this season. But yeah, I think all in all, barring missing the yellow flags and the safety cars, obviously we had the Mentos moment that got himself back up on the podium. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting race next week. I won't want to be one of these drivers in for next week. But that is another race in PSGL F9 for the PS platform. That's the British Grand Prix done for round 6. As we ever get closer to the next race, we will be back next Sunday at 8 PM BST. But don't forget, there's all the other action in PSGL coming up. You've got the other tiers in PSGL. You've got the higher tiers in PSGL coming up this week. Also, you've got the PC tiers coming up. And also, PSGL is very close to that 10,000 subscriber mark. If you did like this stream, then do smash that like button and do subscribe for the other PSGL races and click that notification bell so you don't miss them. And we will be back next week for round 7 for PSGL F9 tier.